The church was heavy with silence, broken only by the faint echo of hymns and the soft sobs of relatives. Candles flickered against stained glass windows, and the air smelled of lilies mixed with old wood. My hands trembled as I held the folded program. Mom's smiling face staring back at me from the front page. It should have been a moment of quiet mourning, a moment of respect. But even in death, Mom couldn't keep Amber from finding a way to make everything about her. I had chosen a simple black dress. Nothing extravagant, nothing loud. It was one of the first dresses I ever made back when I worked alone in my tiny apartment, sewing late into the night. It carried meaning for me, a reminder of where I began. To me, it was priceless. But to Amber, it was another chance to mock me. She leaned over as we stood by the casket, her perfume so strong it nearly choked me. Her lips curled into a smirk as her eyes swept over my dress. "Wow, Claire," she whispered, low enough that only I could hear. "Did you pull that thing out of a thrift store bin? You couldn't find something decent to wear to Mom's funeral?" Her words hit me like a slap, though I didn't flinch. Not outwardly. I had learned long ago that giving Amber a reaction was feeding her fire. So I stood there, eyes fixed on Mom's face. Ignoring the poison dripping from my sister's mouth, Amber smirked, satisfied with my silence, and turned her attention back to the crowd, her diamond earrings catching the light. She was dressed like she was walking a red carpet, black silk gown, designer clutch, heels sharp enough to stab the earth itself. Even her makeup looked like she had spent hours perfecting it, and from the way she fluttered her lashes at every relative, you'd think this funeral was her personal fashion show. I clenched my fists, not because of the insult, but because it reminded me of everything. Amber had always been flashy, cruel, shallow. When the service ended, family and friends gathered around the casket, laying flowers, whispering prayers. I placed a white rose on Mom's chest, whispering, "I'll make you proud, Mom, I promise." My throat tightened. Behind me, Amber chuckled softly to one of our cousins. "You'd think Claire would have tried a little harder. But, you know, she's always been hopeless with style." Mom probably cringed from heaven seeing that dress. I froze, my jaw tightened. I could feel the blood rushing to my face, not because she insulted me, but because she dragged Mom into it. Even here, at Mom's final goodbye, Amber couldn't stop herself. Our cousin looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight. But Amber laughed like it was the funniest joke in the world. I turned slowly, my eyes locking on hers. She expected me to snap, to yell, to give her the drama she thrived on. But instead, I gave her a small, calm smile. "You're right, Amber," I said softly. "I've always been the plain one." She blinked, surprised. Then she laughed, flipping her hair over her shoulder like she had won some kind of invisible battle. But deep down, I knew the truth. The kind of truth that burns quietly, waiting for its moment. Amber had no idea that the plain sister she mocked had built something so massive, so powerful, that it would one day crush every ounce of her arrogance. That day was coming. After the funeral, relatives gathered at Mom's old house for food and condolences. The living room was filled with murmurs, clinking glasses, and the smell of casseroles brought by well-meaning neighbors. But Amber made sure the attention never left her. She strutted from group to group, holding a glass of wine like she was at a gala. "Yes, Charles proposed last month," she bragged loudly, speaking of her fiancé. "He's a real estate developer. Very successful. We're planning a destination wedding, maybe Italy." Aunt May nodded politely, though I could see her eyes glaze over. Amber never noticed. She was too busy flaunting her new handbag, her new ring, her new everything. Finally, she turned to me, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "So, Claire," she said, raising her glass, "what are you doing these days? Still sewing little dresses in that tiny apartment of yours?" The room went quiet. Everyone looked at me, waiting for my answer. I smiled faintly. "Yes, Amber, still sewing." Amber laughed, tossing her head back. "Oh, Claire, you never change." Everyone chuckled awkwardly, not knowing what else to do. The room soon shifted back to small talk, and Amber basked in her own spotlight once more. But Aunt May's eyes stayed on me. She knew, maybe not everything, but enough. enough to sense there was more to me than Amber wanted to admit. As the night dragged on, I slipped away into Mom's old bedroom. The familiar smell of lavender lingered in the curtains. I sat on the edge of her bed, running my fingers along the quilt she had stitched herself decades ago. Mom had always been the only one who believed in me. When Amber mocked my sewing, Mom told me to keep going. When I stayed up all night sketching designs instead of going to parties, Mom said, "One day, the world will see what I see." Now she was gone, and the one person who would have understood the truth wasn't here to see it. A single tear slid down my cheek. But then I heard Amber's laugh echoing through the hallway, loud and sharp, and my sadness hardened into steel. I whispered to the empty room, "Don't worry, Mom, she'll see. The world will see." That night, when I returned to my penthouse overlooking Manhattan, the contrast couldn't have been sharper. From the outside, I was still the quiet sister, mocked for wearing a plain dress. But inside these walls, I was something Amber couldn't even imagine. I kicked off my heels and walked across marble floors to the floor-to-ceiling windows. Below me, the city pulsed with lights, and in the distance, I could see the headquarters of my company, a tall, glass skyscraper lit with the name that had become a global phenomenon, Valencia by Claire. My fashion empire, my billion-dollar creation, my revenge waiting to unfold. And Amber, she had no idea. The night after Mom's funeral, I barely slept. Memories came rushing back like waves crashing against the shore, pulling me under. Every insult, every sneer from Amber. Every time she laughed at my dreams, they replayed like a cruel movie. When we were kids, Amber had always been the golden child, the pretty one with perfect curls and a smile that could melt teachers. She was showered with attention, praised for her beauty, invited to every party. Me, I was the quiet one. The one who sat on the porch with a sketchbook, drawing dresses while everyone else played tag or went to the mall. I found magic in fabric, in colors, in the way a single stitch could bring a vision to life. But to Amber, it was laughable. I remembered the day I wore one of my handmade skirts to school. I had stayed up all night sewing it, every pleat carefully pressed, every hem stitched by hand. I was so proud. But the moment Amber saw me, her laughter filled the hallway. "Did you make that?" she sneered, her friends cackling behind her. "God, Claire, you look like a scarecrow wrapped in curtains." Her words spread like wildfire. By lunch, half the school was calling me rag doll. I cried that night, burying my face in the pillow. But Mom sat beside me, brushing my hair gently. "Don't let her words break you, Claire," she whispered. "Amber shines on the outside, but you shine from within. One day, your light will outlast hers." Those words stayed with me. They fueled me. When I turned 18, I left home with nothing but a suitcase and an old sewing machine. I worked at a tiny tailor shop during the day, fixing zippers and hemming pants for a few dollars. At night, I designed sketch after sketch, stitch after stitch, until my fingers bled. Rent was a struggle. Food was a luxury. There were nights I went to bed hungry. Nights I stitched by candlelight because I couldn't afford electricity. But I kept going, because I believed in the dream Mom had believed in too. Amber, meanwhile, lived like a queen. She married young, her first husband, a wealthy lawyer. Their wedding was a grand affair, chandeliers and champagne fountains. I remember sitting in the back pew, wearing a borrowed dress, watching her beam as if she had won the lottery. She didn't even acknowledge me when she walked down the aisle. But her marriage crumbled within 2 years. Rumors of affairs, screaming matches, court battles. By the time it ended, she had drained him dry of money and moved on to the next. Husband number 2 was older, richer, a businessman with a mansion on the hill. Again, she flaunted her life on social media, designer bags, luxury vacations, spa days. She never mentioned the screaming arguments, the slammed doors, the nights she called me drunk and crying only to insult me again the next morning. That marriage lasted even less. By the time Mom passed, Amber was engaged for the 3rd time. A real estate developer this time, Charles, handsome, wealthy, smitten by her charm. She clung to him like a lifeline, parading him around like a trophy. And through it all, she mocked me. To her, I was the sister who never made it. the one who wasted her life sewing. If only she knew. Because while she was busy clinging to men, I was building something no man could take from me. My big break came when a young model walked into the tailor shop one night with a torn dress. She was desperate. It was for a photo shoot the next morning. I fixed it, but I also suggested a few changes, adding a touch of elegance here, a unique cut there. She agreed. When the photos came out, the dress was praised. People asked who designed it. That model gave them my name. Suddenly, calls started coming in. Small ones at first, brides wanting custom gowns, women wanting something unique for parties. But then, bigger ones, magazine shoots, runways. My designs started appearing on people who mattered, and each time, I poured my heart into the fabric, the stitches, the art. Within 5 years, I launched Valencia by Claire. Within 10, it was on every red carpet, every runway, every fashion magazine. Celebrities wore my gowns to the Oscars. Royals wore my designs to weddings. And every stitch was a piece of me. Every collection, a chapter of my struggle. And through it all, I kept silent. I never bragged to Amber. Never told her. I let her believe I was still the plain sister. Still sewing scraps in a small apartment. Because revenge, I knew, is sweetest when it arrives unexpected. The night after Mom's funeral, I scrolled through social media. Amber had posted a picture of herself at the church, standing in her black silk gown. The caption read, "Even in grief, elegance matters." Thousands of likes, compliments flooding in. I rolled my eyes, tossing the phone aside. But then it buzzed again. A call from Amber. "Did you see the comments?" she asked, her voice bubbling with pride. Everyone loved my dress. Even at Mom's funeral, I managed to stand out. "You really should take notes, Claire. Maybe then you wouldn't look like you shop at garage sales." I gripped the phone tighter, forcing myself not to laugh. She had no idea she was talking to a woman who had personally dressed Hollywood's biggest stars. "Maybe you're right," I said simply. She chuckled, satisfied, and hung up. That was it. That was the moment I decided. I had stayed silent long enough. I had let her mock me long enough. It was time for her to see. A month later, my company prepared for its annual gala in New York. It was the biggest event of the year, a night where fashion's elite gathered under one roof. Celebrities, designers, investors, royalty. It was more glamorous than the Met Gala, more exclusive than any red carpet, and this year was special. We were unveiling a secret collaboration with one of Hollywood's biggest stars. The event would be covered by every fashion outlet from Vogue to Harper's Bazaar. This was the perfect stage. I had invitations sent to every important figure in fashion. And one more. To Amber. When she received it, she called me immediately, her tone dripping with mockery. "Claire, you're hosting a gala. What is this? Some little charity flea market?" I smiled to myself. "Something like that," I said. "You'll see." "Oh, I will see," she replied, laughing. "Maybe I'll give you a few tips on how to make it look like a real event." I let her laugh, because soon, she wouldn't be laughing at all. The night of the gala arrived. My team worked tirelessly, transforming the grand ballroom into a world of light and elegance. Crystal chandeliers glowed above velvet drapes. The runway stretched like a river of gold, and every table sparkled with fine china and champagne. I stood backstage, taking a deep breath. This was it. My moment, not just for me, but for Mom. For every night I had cried, every insult Amber had thrown, every sacrifice I had made. As I stepped into the ballroom, cameras flashed. Reporters rushed forward, microphones thrust toward me. "Claire, over here. Who are you wearing tonight?" I smiled, pausing gracefully. "My own line," I said simply. The flashes intensified, my name echoing across the room. "Claire. Claire Valencia. Claire." And then I saw her, Amber. She walked in late, as usual. Her arm looped through Charles's. She wore a knockoff designer dress she thought was real, her smile wide, her confidence radiating. But the moment her eyes landed on me, on the cameras, the flashing lights, the crowd surrounding me, her smile faltered. She froze, and I knew. The game had begun. Amber stood at the entrance of the ballroom, frozen. For once in her life, she didn't know how to react. Her eyes darted from the flashing cameras to the crowd chanting my name. Then back to Mimi, standing in a gown so breathtaking it silenced the room. Her fiancé Charles leaned down, whispering, "Isn't that your sister?" Amber's lips parted, but no words came out. She just stared, as though seeing me for the very first time. The reporters swarmed closer, their voices overlapping. "Claire, how does it feel to have Forbes' name?" "Valencia, by Claire, the fastest growing luxury fashion brand in the world." "Claire, tell us what's the secret behind your $2.4 billion success." "Claire, can we talk about your new Hollywood collaboration?" Amber's wine glass trembled in her hand. The color drained from her cheeks as she looked at Charles, then back at me. I turned slowly, meeting her eyes across the room. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. My calm smile was enough. Amber swallowed hard, her confidence cracking. For years she had mocked me, laughed at me, reduced me to nothing. But here, in this room filled with the most powerful people in fashion, the truth was undeniable. I wasn't the poor, plain sister anymore. I was the empire she could never touch. The gala began, and I was escorted to the head table. Seated beside celebrities, investors, and royalty, crystal glasses clinked, laughter rang out, and all eyes turned toward me. Amber lingered at the back, clutching Charles's arm like a lifeline, trying to keep her composure, but people noticed. They always notice. Whispers floated through the air. "Isn't that Claire's sister?" She mocked her. "And Claire is this. Oh, how embarrassing." Amber's cheeks burned red, but she forced a smile, pretending not to hear. When it was time for my speech, the lights dimmed, and the spotlight fell on me. I stood at the podium, the weight of the moment pressing on my shoulders. My heart pounded, not from nerves, but from the sweet taste of victory. "Good evening," I began, my voice steady. "Tonight, we celebrate not just fashion, but the power of dreams." I started with nothing. A small sewing machine, a handful of fabric, and a belief that beauty comes from within, not from the labels people wear. Tonight, I stand before you humbled. Because Valencia by Claire is not just my story, it's proof that no matter how many times people doubt you, mock you, or call you worthless, you can rise. The room erupted in applause. Cameras flashed. Some people even stood. And in the crowd, Amber's eyes glistened with unshed tears. For the first time, she wasn't the star of the show. For the first time, she was invisible. After the speech, reporters crowded around me again. Celebrities complimented my gown. Investors toasted my success. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw her, Amber, finally gathering the courage to approach me. She forced a smile, her voice trembling. "Clara, I didn't know." I tilted my head, meeting her gaze. "Of course you didn't," I said softly. "You never cared to know." Her smile wavered. "I've always believed in you. You know that, right?" I raised an eyebrow. "Is that what you told everyone at Mom's funeral? When you mocked my dress in front of our family?" Amber's face went pale. Around us, people had gone quiet, watching the exchange. She stammered, I didn't mean it like that." But the damage was done. The whispers started again, louder this time. Her mask was cracking, and everyone could see it. Charles stepped forward, confusion etched on his face. "Amber, what's she talking about?" Amber shook her head quickly, grabbing his arm. "Nothing. She's exaggerating." But Charles's eyes lingered on me, on the cameras, on the undeniable truth. I could see the doubt already creeping in. I smiled politely. "Don't worry, Amber. I won't embarrass you further. Tonight isn't about you, it's about my team, my company, and the future of fashion." And with that, I turned away, leaving her standing there, her facade crumbling in front of everyone. The night only grew worse for her. When the Hollywood star appeared on stage wearing one of my gowns, the crowd erupted in cheers. When the live stream hit millions of views online, the comments flooded with praise for me, for my designs, and Amber. She was barely a shadow in the corner. For once in her life, she wasn't the center of attention. She wasn't admired, envied, or adored. She was nothing more than the sister who had mocked the empire she didn't even know existed. And that, I realized, was the sweetest revenge of all. Because I hadn't needed to scream, to fight, or to humiliate her. I simply lived my truth. And my truth destroyed her lies. Amber left early that night. She didn't say goodbye. Charles followed, his expression dark, his questions hanging heavy in the air. As I watched them go, I felt no anger, no bitterness, only peace. Mom's words echoed in my heart. One day the world will see what I see. And they had. The night after the gala, the internet was on fire. My face was on every headline. Claire Valencia, the billionaire designer, who redefined fashion, from sewing machine to $2.4 billion. Empire, the woman who stunned New York. Clips of my speech went viral. Pictures of my gowns flooded social media. Celebrities praised me. Investors lined up with new offers. And buried in the comments, here and there, were whispers about Amber. People noticed the way she had hovered awkwardly at the edge of the room. They caught her nervous stammer, her desperate smile. Screenshots surfaced of her mocking Instagram posts, her shallow captions. The narrative was shifting in for once. She couldn't control it. The next morning, I sat in my penthouse sipping coffee, the city stretching wide beneath me. My assistant handed me the latest reports. Sales had skyrocketed overnight. The collaboration we unveiled at the gala was already sold out worldwide. My empire had just doubled in value. But my phone buzzed with messages I wasn't surprised to see. Amber? At first, they were cheerful. Hey sis. So proud of you. I knew you'd do something big one day. Then desperate. Claire, can we meet? Please. I just want to talk. We're family. Then angry. You made me look stupid in front of everyone. You could have at least told me. I didn't reply. Not a word. Because this wasn't about her anymore. Later that week, news broke that Charles had called off their engagement. He had seen enough at the gala to realize the woman he was marrying wasn't the person she pretended to be. The tabloids had a field day. Amber's engagement crumbles. After sister's $1 billion reveal, paparazzi snapped photos of her leaving his penthouse in tears, makeup smeared, her designer handbag clutched like a lifeline. For the first time, Amber was the one being whispered about, pitied, laughed at. I should have felt satisfaction. I should have felt triumphant. And in a way, I did. But more than anything, I felt free. Free from her shadow. Free from her mockery. Free from the years of pain she had caused me. One evening, I visited Mom's grave. The cemetery was quiet, the sky painted with the orange glow of sunset. I knelt beside her headstone, placing a fresh bouquet of lilies. Hi Mom, I whispered. I wish you were here to see it. Everything you believed in. It's real now. They finally see what you saw in me. My voice cracked, tears filling my eyes. Amber mocked me, like she always did. But I didn't fight back. I didn't scream. I just lived. And in the end, she destroyed herself. You were right, Mom, my light. It lasted. The wind rustled through the trees, and I closed my eyes, imagining her gentle hand on my shoulder, her soft voice saying, I'm proud of you, Claire. When I stood, I felt lighter than I ever had before. The revenge was complete not because Amber had lost, but because I had won. I had become everything she said I couldn't be. A week later, I hosted a charity event in Mom's honor. The proceeds funded scholarships for young designers from humble backgrounds like me, kids who had nothing but a dream and a sewing machine. I wanted to give them the chance Mom had given me, belief. As I walked through the event, watching students sketch designs with stars in their eyes, I knew this was my true victory. Not the billions, not the fame, not even the revenge. It was the legacy. Amber didn't show up. She couldn't face me, not now, not ever. But that was fine. I didn't need her apology. I didn't need her approval. Because I had built something greater than her insults. Greater than her arrogance. I had built a world where I no longer needed to hide. No longer needed to prove myself. At Mom's funeral, Amber mocked my clothes. But in the end, the world bowed to them. And that was the sweetest revenge of all.